The following is a presentation of the Matt Talk Podcast Network.
The mind of Pat Popolizio is a wondrous thing. And for you Pack Wrestling fans, you'll get to go inside the mind of the Skip each and every episode here on the Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast. Now, here's your host, NC State Director of Athletics Digital Communications, Brian Reinhardt.
It's been a few weeks, but we're back at it with a brand new episode of the Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast. For those of you that forgot, I'm your host, NC State Director of Athletics Digital Communications, Brian Reinhardt, and I'm joined by the head coach of the Wolfpack, Pat Popolizio.
Good afternoon, Brian.
Pat, it's been a couple of weeks since our last podcast, and even a few more weeks since me and you had a chance to sit down. Last episode, I chatted with former All-American and current full-time member of the Wolfpack Regional Training Center, Tommy Gant. If you missed that episode, please go back into our archives. But Pat, hope you've been enjoying the spring, and it's about time we get back into the season mode of these podcasts. I had both of our fans email me asking me when our next one's going to be, so pressure's on. I know you're ready to catch up the Wolfpack fans with what's been going on since the NCAAs.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I got a few calls, texts, and emails wondering about your commitment to the podcast. So I'm glad we're back on board. It took a little motivation from outside sources to get you going, but I'm glad we're back here today.
My pack mentality was tested, but team banquet tomorrow, you offered me a free dinner, so I am back on board.
Definitely.
So,
be some really good barbecue. So I'm looking forward to it, as always.
And I joke about only a couple of our listeners contacted me, but I think we've really built something here, and we are reaching both a lot of diehard NC State wrestling fans and those that are a bit new to the sport. I know I speak for Pat, and just want to thank all those listeners that listen to this podcast and give us some feedback.
Great time to attack some good content. With the season being over and finishing up with the U.S. Open, there's not a lot of wrestling content. Probably not enough right now at this time of the year, so this is always a good time to get some good info out there.
Couple plugs first, then we'll get into all that info, but it's been a couple episodes since I plugged away some stuff. But if you have not done so already, please go in and subscribe to our channel wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. We're available on iTunes, Google Music Play, and Stitcher, just to name a few. I'm also in the process of putting all the past episodes up on YouTube, so visit our channel by searching Pack Wrestle, and you can listen from any device on YouTube. And we still love to get ratings and reviews on iTunes. It's been a while since anybody has left one, so Wolfpack fans, show us a little love. Remember, I don't get paid to do this. We've done 20 episodes in. I got some big summer plans, so let's show the administration that our fans appreciate the work we've done so far, and maybe get me a raise around here. We'll see.
You're due up for one.
I appreciate that. And
get you on the tables a little bit more when we hit some of these road trips.
You treat me good on those road trips. I appreciate the per diem. I request more per diem.
Yeah, but you play it and then lose it real quick.
I will say I lost my NCAA per diem on day one. But, that's enough of our plugs. We're going to turn our attention to the mats. Lots of news since we last talked, Pat. So this episode, it's going to be a lot of potluck, just jumping around various topics. But first and foremost, some great news recently. The Skip celebrated a birthday.
Yep.
I don't have the budget to play a birthday song, but how did you celebrate your birthday?
At this point, it's just another day around here. Enjoy being around the guys. We had a good workout, good practice. We made a new rule in the room. Whoever's birthday it is, get to pick the music for the day. So that was a big plus there. But I fortunate enough to have a lot of great people around here, and went to lunch, went to dinner, and just another day.
You didn't say, did you get on the stair stepper on your birthday?
I definitely did. I would
Okay.
not. That's a given.
Off.
That's a routine. No days off. Riz actually, I think he tweeted that out to me, but he knows the deal. There's no days off.
If your birthday fell during the summer, during some downtime, what would be the perfect getaway for an occasion like that?
That's a good one. I think Asheville, around here in North Carolina, summertime, that's probably the spot to be. Get out there, check out the mountains a little bit. Maybe the beach, but the beach is a little too crowded, I think, summertime. So, plus I like cooler weather. So that's probably the best spot for me to be.
And during that birthday celebration, we got some great news. The Board of Trustees approved a new contract for yourself, signing you through 2025. First of all, congratulations. But how excited are you to get a deal like that done?
Thanks. Appreciate it. Yeah, that's the real birthday gift right there. That's I actually signed it on my actual birthday. So that was a good reward right there. But no, at the end of the day, came to NC State because I knew this was a place that you could win at a very high level, and we've laid some really good groundwork with a lot of great people connected to our program and people working in all aspects. Obviously, what we do together with this podcast has helped tremendously. So, everybody's done their part to put us in position to continue to grow this program, and a lot of people behind the scenes now with our RTC. So very grateful and thankful for the buy-in of everybody and understanding the vision. And now we get to the next phase of ultimately climbing ahead of what we've accomplished thus far. So the true challenge is in front of us now to make that next jump as a program, and it only gets tougher from here. And we got a lot of great people connected to us to go out there and be motivated for this. So I'm excited for what the future holds, and I know the guys on our team are just as motivated as they've been in the past.
Sounds like this podcast got you the new contract. I took that. You rambled on for a little while, but that was what I took away from that answer.
I think you're right. I think it's helped get the awareness out there. Our fan base has grown since we've done this. We've got more people in the seats.
I did text you if I'm getting a commission. You didn't really reply to my text.
Well, I said it's all commission based off of the sponsorship. So last tweet I saw, we're at 0.
But how does a contract like this on the table show how important wrestling is to both the administration here and the wrestling community as a whole?
Yeah, I think it speaks volume for, anytime you're in the recruiting wars, kids want to know, who's going to be there coaching them for long term. And I think this was a big part of it, too, to know that, our staff and the way we're doing things is going to stay intact for a while. And it's grown. I think the ACC alone, obviously with Dr. Yao and the rest of the administration and working with Josh day to day, I think it shows the level of commitment that they're at, wanting to win and continue to improve, and very thankful for that because, it's something I really enjoy doing and take a lot of passion in. So being around a bunch of people that are motivated and willing to help above and beyond puts us in a better position because it's ultra competitive now. You look around the country, everybody's getting more and more resources. I think wrestling is growing in that aspect. I'd like to see the numbers get better, but I think it's growing with more and more support for what we do have right now. So that's a positive.
And you kind of mentioned it, but I'm sure this kind of news is huge for when you're out on the road recruiting. And for the fans that have asked, we're going to do a whole episode on all of our new guys that will be here in the fall, but we're still waiting on a couple NLIs, and we can't speak on a student athlete until those come in. But you guys are coming to the end of the recruiting cycle, and new guys will be enrolling starting this summer. It's probably one of the biggest classes you've signed. You have to replace 6 senior starters, and you guys filled a lot of the needs. But without getting into individual guys, you have to be happy at how this recruiting class is kind of shaping up to be another top 10 class here at NC State.
Yeah, this class, more importantly, fits our philosophy. I mean, we can sit here all day long and go off of what people think rankings should be. All I care about is having guys that fit our philosophy and our mentality, and we'll make them day to day. There's no question with the system we have, they're going to improve and get better. And, we're bringing in a lot of guys. So we're at another level of talent right now. We got a lot of guys that redshirted this year that are coming back. So, yeah, we graduate a lot of guys, but we redshirted some key players that are going to jump in our lineup next year, and I'm excited. Again, our style of wrestling that we're going to have is going to be aggressive and good, and these guys have been working hard since the season ended, and we add these freshmen in there. It's a great combination with depth, talent, and more importantly, the mentality of a student athlete that we're looking for. And this program just got flooded with about 15 new guys that mirror everything that these guys before them have laid the foundation, which makes it easier on us. And now that momentum's rolling, these guys can just show up, work hard, and follow the leaders that have kind of paved the way for them.
We're sort of in a transition period right now. Your seniors are gone. Your newcomers aren't here yet. But I want to ask you, the guys are working out. They've been in the mat room. What's the room dynamic? There's not as many bodies as there are, but, what's been going on in the practice room the last few weeks?
It's always different and a unique time right after NCAAs because you're used to seeing your seniors in there, and you walk in and you're like, hey, why is so-and-so not here? And it takes a couple weeks to get back in rhythm with that. They're moving on to the next phase of their career. So that part's a little challenging. And then when you actually get to work, there's a lot less bodies in the room, so there's a lot more one-on-one focus. We're fortunate enough to have all these post-grad guys training here, so they get a lot of one-on-one opportunities to train with them. And the level those guys are at, it's a lot of hands-on work right now.
And we've rolled into May, and of course, graduation's right around the corner. Between now and the end of summer sessions, 7 more members of the Wolfpack wrestling team will earn a degree. You place a high emphasis on these guys getting the work done off the mat in the classroom. So for our coaching staff, how proud are you of guys that you've seen that have been here 4 or 5 years and their work in the classroom to earn a college degree?
Very proud of these guys because at the end of the day, that's what they signed up to do when they came here, is to get their degree, whether it's 3 years, 4 years, or 5 years on a red shirt. A lot of these guys are motivated enough to get their masters. So, we have a plan in place for these guys, and it makes it easier on these guys if they're doing well in school. I think wrestling, their credentials mirror that. Having those 5 academic All-Americans, I think, is a good testament for that. But, yeah, I'm excited to see where these guys are going to be 5-10 years from now down the road, because they're very motivated, smart individuals that have worked extremely hard and are going to go on to do some great things and probably be some of our first sponsors for this podcast.
I was just going to say, you beat me to it.
Yeah.
We will get a sponsor for this podcast.
Yeah, I think we're due up for it.
No one wants to be the first.
Yeah.
We just need that first. Step
it's coming.
So we're going to stick on the academic side. We've had some great news to release the last couple of weeks. In addition, winning a national title and the ACC Wrestler of the Year, Michael Macchiavello was named the ACC Scholar Athlete of the Year. Mock's already earned an undergrad degree in finance and is working on a Master of Arts in Liberal Studies. And the classroom accolades don't end there, including Mock. The Wolfpack this year had a school record 5 named to the NWCA's all-academic team, with Brian Hammond, Sean Foss, Daniel Bullard, and Hayden Hiley all being honored. Great testament that you guys had half of your starting lineups being named an academic All-American this year.
Yeah. And that goes back to the mentality of the guys and what we're looking for. And, this coaching staff working extremely hard. Adam Hall working day to day, with their academic advisor, and making sure everything's intact for these guys. So the resources are in place for them to be extremely successful, not just getting their degree, but getting it with what we talked about, having that next level of resume building type stuff. And that's what these guys have done. It separates them when they graduate and go in an interview. They have a little more ammo than maybe most guys will. So take a lot of pride in that, and want to continue to build on that with the next group of kids that are going to be coming through here.
And yet another press release that I pumped out. There's no off season for me in the communications office. Had to get that in there. But the 2017-18 season, NC State set a new attendance record, not only for average attendance, but for an individual duel as well. The Wolfpack led the ACC and ranked 12th nationally in averaging over 1,800 fans per duel, highlighted by a record 3,900 fans for that battle against Ohio State. A lot of our previous podcasts, we asked Wolfpack fans to come out and support the team in Reynolds, and those fans created such a great home atmosphere this past season.
Yeah, that's a huge part of the growth of a program right there, and that's ultimately, at the end of the day, when you look to make the next jump in a program, those are the numbers that you need to see grow, because best kids in the country want to wrestle in front of a great crowd, and we have that now, and we have passionate fans that follow wrestling, understand wrestling, and know what our guys are doing day to day, and that's what the best kids in the country want to be a part of. And I'm, very appreciative to the people that have been supporting us in that aspect.
And we're probably on hold until September to release the schedule. I know you're still putting it together, but any updates? Can we tease the fans? Can we get them excited with anything?
Yeah, we'll continue to do a mixture of different conferences. We will definitely be having some home duels with a Big 10 school, a Big 12 school, most likely. Probably similar to what we did last year. No overseas trip right now because every 4 or 5 years we're allowed to do it. But we'll definitely change it up. We're looking at maybe some duels down south, getting some training in over some good weather, and we won't be hitting any places cold and snowy probably in our at break. So, it should be finalized here as summer hits and we get moving forward. Probably, I think August, September is when the schedule usually gets locked in.
And the last thing I wanted us to cover in this episode might be a little longer, but I wanted to talk about the Wolfpack's Regional Training Center, or you'll hear it referred to as the RTC. First, Pat, can you explain what the Wolfpack RTC is and the overall purpose of it here in Raleigh?
For us, it's to continue to grow wrestling and obviously help kids move on to the next phase of their career to accomplish their international goals. You go and you start the recruiting process with some of the best kids in the country, and again, they have goals for after college, post-college to continue to train. We finally are in position now to keep a lot of these guys that come here and stay, and Raleigh's such a great area to live in. And that's why I think it's helped grown tremendously. A lot of these guys have had opportunities outside of here once they've graduated, but they've chosen Raleigh. I think one, they feel at home here. They wrestled for us, and it's a great place to live. And now having the resources in play at the end of the day, there's a lot of funding that has to go through our nonprofit to pay these guys, and it's the better they do, the more expensive it gets. But that's a challenge we like, and know we're getting that much closer to ultimately competing for a national title. And keeping these guys that we have here now is going to be extremely valuable in the next 4 or 5 years and building this program to that next level.
And we have been very fortunate here in NC State that the Wolfpack Wrestling Club and the RTC has received great publicity over the last few seasons. And recently, there was an announcement that some new additions to the RTC as full-time residents. But first, I think we should start with the pair of 2016 All-Americans that they've been training here in Raleigh since their NC State career ended, and I'm talking about Nick Wisdowski and Tommy Gant. I think we've all enjoyed Nick's journey through the U.S. and international ranks, and last year he was a member of the U.S. World Team and won a bronze medal at the World Championships. And as we're recording this, Nick is about to head to South America to compete down in Peru. Then he'll return stateside and wrestle in the Final X, which is a new way to determine the U.S. World Team for the next cycle. But can you talk about Nick's progression since his Wolfpack career ended?
Yeah, I think he's made some huge strides, both technically, physically, and mentally, in all aspects in wrestling. You look at where he started, a couple years ago, finishing 4th in the Open tournament, and then making that jump, finally breaking through, making a team, and then, once you get a medal at the World Championships, it lets you know that you're one of the best guys in the world. And, at that level, the littlest things make a world of difference in success. And that's something you're seeing with Nick right now is he's, his main focus right now is to win a world title and an Olympic title. And it's such small, detailed things. And he's, we talk about it all the time. He's a professional now. And that's the way he's going about his training. It's an 8-hour day coming in. Does that mean he's working all 8 hours? No, but that means he's focused in on, whether it's watching film, his diet, and strength and conditioning, speed. He's putting in a lot of quality time and is starting to reap the benefits for that right now.
And we've also gotten to see Tommy Gant's progress, and he even broke it down on our last podcast, so go back into the archives and listen to Tommy. But he was recruited by the previous coaching staff, but you formed a great relationship with him when you came in during his sophomore year, and that's continued till today as he remains in Raleigh and trains at the RTC full-time. Tommy recently won his first international tournament and will next wrestle at the World Team Trials. Is there a wrestler who you've seen develop more just from the first time you met him to where he currently is post-college than Tommy Gant has?
You go back to that year walking into this job, there were probably not many guys that, had the same philosophy and mentality on the way we wanted to go about winning. Not saying there's a right way or a wrong way, but, from my end, I had a a philosophy and an approach that I wanted to go about it. And there's no better athlete to have in your corner that thinks and acts and is willing to do the things that Tommy Gant was doing at that time. And it was a perfect storm coming together, because I think he benefited a great deal from a little bit of the change of the way we were doing some things. And even off the mat, I just hit it off with him and respected his work ethic, his mentality, and just kind of his loyalty to someone that he believes in. And I'm the same way as a person. And it's been a really good working relationship. And the guy has worked relentlessly to improve his wrestling. And I think you look from each year that he started here, I think he had a losing record. Maybe, I don't know exactly that first year. And I know when we got him that second year, he was about a 500 wrestler in our lineup. And then made those jumps into almost being an All-American, and then finally breaking through. And now post-college, more than anything, he's got the time that we can really zone in on the technical side of things. And he's about to break through on the national level here in the freestyle. And I'm really looking forward to seeing him compete in the trials, not this weekend, but next weekend, because I think he's in position to do some great things right now.
And a third full-time member of the RTC. He did not wrestle here, but he's from North Carolina. Timmy McCall has been in Raleigh training since 2015. Can you talk about what he has added to the RTC? Yeah,
Timmy's been a great addition to our program, not just wrestling, but his leadership off the mat and the kind of person he is mirrors I think he meshes well with personality between our coaching staff and our athletes, and he is a phenomenal human being to mentor the guys that we have on our team. And I think he's made some growth in his wrestling abilities with, having Nick to train with, and obviously Mock and all these other guys that we've had around, Malik from his old high school as well. Being a North Carolina guy, we needed that. We needed some in-state talent and connections, and Timmy brought that. And very thankful and happy that he's here, because we utilize him in a lot of different aspects. But he's a great person, hardworking, and is continuing to help us grow this program.
And the RTC has hit those three guys around for a few years. And just last month, we were happy to announce three new full-time additions. Three-time All-American Kevin Jack and 2018 national champion Michael Macchiavello will both remain in Raleigh and train at the Wolfpack RTC. Kevin's kind of an interesting story. He hasn't wrestled that much in freestyle during his time here at NC State, but how do you see his career progressing now that he has made that commitment?
I think that's a guy that is untapped potential in freestyle, because he hasn't had a ton of time to train for it and compete in it. We've dabbled a little bit in his career here, and I don't think he was ultra motivated to wrestle in that style. And now knowing that, folk style's over, that's where he's got to put his energy into. I think he's going to find a new love for that, and it's going to take some time for him to learn and adjust his style to it. But I think once he does, he's going to be very challenging and hard to beat, just because he's tall and long for that weight class again. And it's hard to wrestle those guys when they get some leverage on you, and he's just got to adapt his style to freestyle. But I'm looking forward to seeing him, put his energy into learning freestyle as much as he did in folk style, and he'll be in a great position with that.
86, 79. Where do you see Kevin going up to?
What's it? We're going to get him down to 57 kilos. He'll look good down there, all the way down there.
And coming off a great senior season, what do you see for Mock in the near future?
Same thing with Mock. He's got obviously the drive, the power, and the mentality to be successful. But again, it's a totally different ball game, wrestling folk style to freestyle, and he's got to learn wrestling. Basically, he knows the fundamentals to it, but he's got to learn wrestling over again. And it's a quick transition for these guys, because they already know what it takes to win, and now it's just learning the little detailed things. And a year of full-time training in freestyle, these guys will be fine, right in the mix of things. But that's another guy right now, big athletic kid who's going to be at a weight class that, he can definitely be right in the mix of things right away. And if he takes the same approach that he's had in folk style and puts it to freestyle, it won't be long before he's in position to make one of these teams.
And a third 2018 All-American you guys have added in kind of a unique situation. He's going to be splitting time between Raleigh and his alma mater, Duke, but two-time All-American Jacob Casper is going to be in the room. And like I said, it's a really unique situation, which is really going to benefit both schools here.
these are to benefit the athletes. And, you get an opportunity for Casper to come here and train. Nick is going to benefit a great deal from that. And I think, and same in return, because he's going to have some great quality guys to help him elevate his game. And it's a great working relationship, and I'm glad and really looking forward to the continued growth with these guys training together, because it's one of those things where iron sharpens iron. And just yesterday I was watching Nick and Casper work out, and it's these guys both get pushed, they both get fatigued, and when they get to a certain point, that's when they really start learning from each other, is when they're both tired. And sometimes it's hard to get that every day where you got guys pushing you to a certain point. A lot of times you're just that much better than somebody, and it's like you never get there. And we're able to get that right in our room right now. There's not a guy in this room that doesn't get pushed day to day, whether it's RTC or college guys, and that's what's going to ultimately continue to produce national champs, world champs, and Olympians.
And we mentioned those guys, but we also have 3 other recent grads, Quentin Godley, Mike Kostoy, Lee Davis. They're all still around the RTC. They're traveling in tournaments. How great is it for Wolfpack wrestlers to know that the Wolfpack RTC, it's really growing, and you can stay here after college and just continue the training?
Yes, and those guys, I think you gotta respect their work that they've put in, because I think sometimes these guys get overlooked and by just some guys that have accomplished great things at the college level, and then they're at the international level too. And then you get these guys that are in our room every day, and all 3 of these guys qualified for the World Team Trials, which means they placed at the U.S. Open, and that's not an easy thing to do. And more than anything, it's the improvement that all 3 of these guys have made. From Mike Kostoy, I was just talking to him today about it. He's been 1 year on the circuit of freestyle, and he's already made some huge gains. Lee Davis, same kind of thing. Coming out the college scene, he was in and out of our lineup, wasn't a guy that got to wrestle in the NCAA tournament and do anything there. And then he goes out and now is placing and beating some of the best guys in the country at this freestyle level. And, Q was around before I got here, but we saw him as a very valuable option to help us build this program up. And I appreciate what these guys do for us, and they're going to continue to get better because of their training situation here.
And we've talked about all these post-grad guys that are training full-time here, but I wanted to shift the focus to 2 current members of the Wolfpack wrestling team that were also in action at the U.S. Open. Hayden Hidley, in his first senior-level tournament, placed second at 70 kilograms, and classmate Nick Reenan, in only his second senior-level tournament, took third at 86. Starting first with Hayden, he entered as the 7th seed, reeled off 4 straight wins, and advanced to the finals. Can you talk about his performance out in Vegas at the U.S. Open?
I think it was a good starting point for him in his freestyle career. I think if you talk to Hayden, he's going to tell you he's disappointed and because he didn't win it. And I think that's what makes him very special as an athlete, because he expects to win everything. Doesn't matter what level tournament it is. But I think we got to sometimes slow down and look at the positive. And same with him when we talk about it. Got to focus on all the great things you're doing, and not the one little loss that you had against a guy that's very seasoned. I think this experience that he's getting right now, when he's able to train full time and all the time with freestyle, you're going to see him on some U.S. teams for quite a while, as long as he wants to put himself in position for that. And he's only going to get better. From the experience he's had here, going to put him in position to win his national title when he gets back into the college scene here next year.
And Reenan drew the number 2 seed in the first bout and fell, but in the consolation bracket, he won 6 straight and netted a 3rd-place finish. In those 6 wins, he had a pin and outscored his other foes 53-6. And his run was capped off with a 10-0 tech fall over a former 3-time All-American Dudley from Nebraska. So Reenan has really come on strong here. He's got 2 third-place finishes in his first 2 freestyle tournaments.
Yeah, this redshirt season benefited him a great deal. I think more mentally in the confidence side of things, he's grown, and he's back to what he was able to do in high school and go out and win and dominate against the best guys in the country. And, college sometimes takes a little while to make these adjustments and figure things out. And I think he's been able to do that. And I think this is a breakthrough on confidence for him, because he didn't just beat some okay guys. He beat some of the best guys that have been at the national level in the NCAAs, and some of these guys that are placing at the U.S. Open, and he's that good, and he's got to continue to grow on it and know that he's the best kid in the country coming in next year, and put himself in position to compete for that national title. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for a breakout performance and a guy that can go out and really put himself in this position next year at 184 pounds and go compete, and still got some time left this year to get on a national team. And that's the goal right now. These college guys can get on a national team. It's valuable experience for them.
And after all the action at the U.S. Open, 9 wrestlers affiliated with the Wolfpack RTC have qualified for the U.S. World Team Trials, and that's just an incredible number. We're here in early May, but what does the next couple of months look like for both the NC State wrestling team and the Wolfpack RTC?
It's a combination of training some guys together, some of the RTC guys and the college guys. If they can make it work, we'll get them matched up together. But at the end of the day, right now, it's getting these guys ready for the trials. It's coming up in about 2 weeks, and then Nick's already qualified for the final phase of it. And we want to get as many guys through to that next phase as we can. And that's, it's a challenge to do, but that's what we're in here training. And we got the best guys wrestling the best guys right now. And you look back, ultimately, this comes back to Coach Obi Blanc putting a lot of hard work and time in. It proves his system works. When you can get 9 guys qualified for the trials, it shows that you got a guy that knows what it takes technically, and at least on the conditioning side of things, and continue to grow and help these guys ultimately accomplish their goals. So very thankful and appreciative to what Obi's been doing with the RTC.
And this week's guest, I caught up with Nick Reenan. We covered a lot in that interview. We talked about his freestyle success, but something our fans want to know, he took a redshirt season this past year after competing as a true freshman. What improvements did you see during this redshirt season, and what are your expectations for him moving into next season?
I think we talked a little bit about it, but he's one of these guys that we recruited to be, a leader within our program, whether it's in the room or on the mat, going out there and competing. And he has all the tools and the ability to do it. And now it's making those mental jumps and those technical jumps. And I think this off season is going to be a big stepping stone for him. Going out there and competing and beating some of the best guys in the country at this international level is huge for him. But, I think every kid needs some time to grow. Some guys can come in and ready to compete right away, but most of these guys will need a year at some point to really just focus in on themselves and the development as a person. That's what we're able to do when we redshirt a kid. We really work hard to develop them as a individual, and not so much wrestling, but confidence in them as whatever it is they're going out to attack. Obviously, we benefit in the wrestling side of things, but these guys grow as men, and that helps our wrestling and their wrestling. And I think you're seeing that with Nick Reenan right now. He's growing up, he's maturing, and he's going to do some great things for the program next year. And we're going to rely on a guy like that to have a breakthrough season to keep us where we're at as far as the program goes.
How much has his Twitter game improved during this redshirt season?
It's good. The cut, I think the cut thing and his sarcasm on Twitter has got a lot of people fooled. But, we take personality out there, and he's got it. So, like these guys that have fun, unique personality, makes our jobs enjoyable.
We're now joined by rising redshirt sophomore Nick Reenan. Nick, we caught up with you during finals week between a lift and a workout, so thank you for stopping by to catch us up on what's been a really busy season for you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And we're at the beginning of finals week. You're an environmental sciences major. So what does the next week and a half look like for you with exams here?
I have 3 finals. I have 1 this week and 2 next week. Mostly focused on 2 of them, but there's been a lot of studying this week, studying over the weekend, and then trying to find like any tutoring sessions I can get that are over the next couple of days, and then try to kill it on the finals.
I'm sure you got a little jealous, all these guys being named to the academic All-ACC team. We going to see you there next year?
Yeah, hopefully that's the plan.
But you've been busy competing in freestyle recently, and we'll touch on some of those results. But in regards to your classroom load, how hectic has this past month been? You were up in New York and out in Vegas trying to deal with finals. Just how busy have you been this month?
It's been pretty crazy, moving tutoring around and like trying to figure out what classes, because I do need to make sure that I get to as many classes as I can. And so I've only missed around 2 classes in that time, so I think I did pretty well with that. But they've been pretty accommodating with like moving my tutoring sessions around and making sure that I'm getting everything that I need. So it hasn't been too bad. I'm trying to finish out this semester strong.
And away from wrestling, you really blow up on Twitter. You seem to have a sarcastic sense of humor that some people on message board just might not get. But I have to say, it's nothing compared to your dad. I looked this morning. John has liked over 26,000 tweets. You have to be pretty impressed.
Yeah, if it shows up on social media, there's a good chance my dad has seen it. He's on there a lot. He makes sure that everyone knows he's around. I feel like a lot of people know of my dad, but they don't know him like personally. So it's funny, but yeah.
So going back to your pre-NC State days, you were from Dallas, Texas, but during your high school career, you decided to transfer and go to Wyoming Seminary Prep, which is up in Pennsylvania. Can you talk about that decision and how it benefited you?
Yeah, it wasn't too hard of a decision for me. My situation in Dallas wasn't the best. I needed to go to a lot of practices to get the most out of it, and I was traveling around a lot just to get the best tournaments. And it was once I knew about the Wyoming Seminary from a friend of mine who was also going up, Jack Mueller. He was telling me that I should look into it, and once I kind of saw the school a little bit, I decided it was probably the best thing for me to do. So I went up there. It was kind of hard to leave everybody in Texas on my family, and but I think it was the right decision for me.
What year did you end up going up there?
Sophomore year.
So you had 3 years up there. Was that, like you said, but that had to help you for college to be away from home from college too?
Yeah, I think so. I was pretty prepared when I got here. I felt like just being away from my family and everything, I'd been kind of used to that, and traveling around the country and stuff. It was by the time I got here, I was already, and I did meet a couple guys that I know that I'll probably be in contact with for a long time there. So I'm glad I made the decision. It was definitely the right thing for me to do. So.
And you were a consensus top 10 recruit coming out of high school. You actually committed somewhere else, but they went through a coaching change, and you reopened your recruitment and eventually signed with the Wolfpack in the spring. What drew you to NC State to make this the college you wanted to attend?
We actually had a lot of guys come through Wyoming Seminary and then come down to NC State. And Coach Green was looking. My high school coach was pretty good friends with Pat, and so he told me I should look into it. And after I'd seen some of the stuff that they'd done pretty poorly, not poorly, but they hadn't done as well as they wanted to. And then when Pat got here, they started to become like a national powerhouse. And I liked the direction they were going. I liked the mentality of the team, like how they seemed to be doing all the right things. And everyone just knew what the goals were and what they wanted to accomplish here. And I thought that was something that I wanted to be a part of.
And coming to NC State as a true freshman, that was the season after the Pack went 23-1 and finished number 2 in the final coaches ranking. There's a lot of momentum in the program. Was there talk of you redshirting that first season, or was there an expectation that you would come in and see action right away?
Yeah, I didn't actually really know what I was going to do when I came in. I was kind of expecting a red shirt, but I was just kind of trusting with Pat, and I did end up wrestling that season, and I didn't do as well as I wanted. I went to NCAAs, but it wasn't my best season, and I'm looking forward to doing better this year.
You said you got the starting spot at 174, was an NCAA qualifier. But after the season, you guys always have your meetings with the coaching staff about proceeding to the next year. Was the subject of a redshirt season brought up then, or what did the process go through?
I think the process, it was always to switch years with Pete. So Pete was going to redshirt my freshman year, and then I would redshirt while he was. So I think that was always the plan. I already knew that after my freshman year that I would redshirt. So we talked about it and after the season, but it was already pretty well established that I would probably redshirt unless something crazy happened. So.
And duels here and ACC and NCAA championships, they get a whole lot of coverage, but what is it like to be on the red shirt circuit for those of you that are sitting out a season?
Oh, I love it. It's it's a lot of competition and a lot of you got to do stuff by yourself kind of because you don't get as much support from the team because you can't. But it's really cool to go around the country with those guys. We drove up to Pennsylvania for the Edinburgh Open, and it was 12 degrees in the room, and it was
I was gonna say,
it's just crazy.
The travel is a lot different.
Yeah.
You guys are on your own for traveling.
It kind of like was a little bit of a shock to me because we do when we travel like as a team. Like my freshman year, it was great because I was like, oh, we have all this stuff taken care of for us, and it was really cool, like being with all the guys. And then like the red shirt circuit is complete opposite. You have to do everything yourself. You gotta like not everything, but you have to do a lot of stuff yourself, and like you don't see as many of the guys, and like I know like that like I missed out on the trip to Italy, which seemed really cool, and like. But it's definitely worth it. I think this whole year, like I think the training is a lot different, and it's I think a little bit more intense. So I think I got a lot out of my year.
On the redshirt circuit, were you kind of glad to get away from Melissa for 1 year and all of her rules of traveling?
No, I don't know. I think she's really helpful. So
You're the first one that said she was helpful. So
I think she's helpful. The schedule is a little crazy. Sometimes she has a crazy itinerary, but it works out.
Now, you were at 184 this whole year, competed 6 tournaments. How did the past season go for you?
I think it went better. I lost a couple matches that I wish I'd gone better. But the tournaments themselves, like I think I'm getting my mindset right, which is probably one of the more important things for me. And then just like I'm not really a huge fan of cutting weight, so being up at 184 is way better for me. I think in my wrestling, I just can wrestle more my style, and it's I think it'll be a good thing next year to stay in at 184.
Are you going to be walk around weight 184? Will you go up a little bit and have to cut? What do you feel like?
I'll probably start my weight cut on the day before. I'm not too heavy. I'll probably weigh. I like in the off season I get up to like around 200, but like when we're competing pretty hard, I'll probably weigh right around 190. Probably stay around there, and then just last day lose a couple pounds.
Moving away from folk style, which is college wrestling, and into freestyle, you went up to New York and placed 3rd at the Bill Farrell International, your first senior level tournament. And more recently, you were out in Vegas and you took 3rd at the U.S. Open and qualified for the U.S. World Team Trials later this summer. They're 2 different styles. What do you like about each?
Folk style, I like that. Like you can scramble around a little bit more. Like if you get in on a shot, and like there's a lot more upside for being the offensive wrestler in folk style wrestling. Like you can if you're being offensive and you just stay in good position, there's very little the other guy can do. On the flip side of that, freestyle is all about exposure, and like if someone shoots in, you can tech them without even getting a takedown, which I think is kind of crazy. But I think both styles, like if you know how to wrestle them well, like you can benefit from doing either one. So I think
you had a couple of them. Do you wrestlers like in freestyle these tech falls that they're over in 30 seconds sometimes with one move?
When I am the guy who's getting the points, yeah, I love it. But when you're like you get caught in something, like that sucks. Like if you get caught in a leg lace off of an ankle pick or something, that's there's not a whole lot you can do about that. It's just you got to give up points, and I think that's part of like wrestling. Like there is some risk and for doing some moves, but I think that makes it exciting for the fans, and I think that's I don't mind it too much. Like I think I rarely get caught in stuff, but I'm not great with parterre because I don't wrestle. Like we wrestle folk style all year, and then we kind of transitioned to freestyle really quickly. So parterre wasn't great for me in New York, but working with Obi and the other guys, I got more used to it the last couple of weeks.
In the U.S. Open, you really opened some eyes on the senior level. You lost your first bout, but then won 6 straight and finished 3rd. You beat multiple former All-Americans and outscored 6 foes 53-6. How do you feel the weekend went for you?
I think the first 2 matches, I was a little bit cautious in how I was wrestling, and then kind of like as the tournament went on, I was kind of realizing like I got a lot more confident, and I think that helped a lot with how I was wrestling through the tournament. So I think I'm going to try to take that and bring it into folk style next year and into the World Team Trials, and I think that'll help my wrestling a lot. So I really enjoyed the tournament. I thought it was really beneficial, and I wish I wrestled the first 2 matches a little bit better.
And the Wolfpack, you guys lost 6 seniors in bringing a huge freshman class. What do you see your role on next year's team being in terms of leadership and previous experience?
I think we have a lot of guys on the team who are very good at being leaders, and I think I could definitely step up and help a lot of the freshmen next year and other guys on the team. Just because we do need we're going to be a pretty young team, but I think that with the right mindset and with guys being confident that we can do the same things that we've become accustomed to, that will be a good. I think that's something that we can accomplish next year. So. And
we'll get you out of here on this. What's one thing folk style that you're going to be working on this summer?
Bottom, for sure. Pretty much all summer. So
why bottom?
I'm a little lazy on bottom right now. I would much rather be on my feet. I feel confident that I could take down pretty much anybody. So, but then I haven't always been great on bottom just because I feel like it's not. I've in the past felt like it wasn't something I really needed to work on, but now I think it's probably something that I need to get better at and feel confident getting out. So,
Nick, it was great to catch up with you. Good luck later this month at the World Team Trials. We're all going to be watching.
Thanks.
And I want to thank everybody for listening today. This is your Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast covering all things NC State wrestling. Until next time, Wolfpack wrestling fans, go Pack.
Mentality Pop-Ins podcast is produced by the Mat Talk Podcast Network. For more wrestling podcasts, go to MatTalkOnline.com.